Okay, hang on one sec. John, can you upgrade Scott Pennell panels, please?
Done.
Okay, John's taking care of it. Okay, all right, thank you. Everybody ready?
One moment, let me
All
just complete this really quick.
Sorry, I didn't mean to rush.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to go slow there. I was. Okay, we're ready.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, and anybody watching at home. I'd like to welcome everybody to the April 11th, 2022 council work session. And we have one item, police department update. Chief, go ahead.
Okay, Mayor, Council, thank you for scheduling this today. I've provided council and the city the packet that has basically a memo that outlines the direction I'd like to move the police department in. And so just a little background. So I've been now the chief for just over a year, made it a year. And so during that time, I've been able to sort of look at the structure of the department. When I started, there was a lieutenant and then 6 other officers. And so I wanted to, and then there's 2 corporals. I really wanted to evaluate the sort of the structure, and it really started to feel to me that having the chief, the lieutenant, and the 2 corporals who are doing sometimes supervisor duties and other times not, just felt very top heavy as an organization because we're small. We're a small agency. So I also wanted to evaluate the corporals, give them more responsibilities in supervising. And so during that time, they have been one supervisor's Sunday through Wednesday, and then the other one has been supervising the Wednesday through Saturday people. It's been a little bit problematic lately because we're on 12-hour shifts. So that's where we need to get off these 12-hour shifts and get some people hired. So in evaluating this, I really felt that they have the skill set to supervise. They have the experience to be first line supervisors. Typically it's 5 years. Most departments it's 5 years in order to be a sergeant, to be a first line supervisor. So with that, looking at that and wanting to do that, there's a real benefit to, if we eliminate the lieutenant position and we have the 2 sergeants, then we could add an officer. So we could add an officer at a base pay of $60,000 and not pay a lieutenant, which is a higher salary. A lieutenant typically is a position that is it non-exempt? Yeah, so it's a non-exempt from overtime kind of a position, and we would open that up to the outside and the 2 people that were here. And I just felt that it's not necessary at this point to have that, to continue with that position. But I also feel like the city has the opportunity to add to its police force and balance our schedules so that you have 3 officers on the one half of the week with a sergeant and the other 3 on the other end of the week with a sergeant. And it also, you know, I would, and I already have been training the corporals to do things that if I'm absent, things that they can fill in and do. And they were doing some of that before I came. So kudos to them during the transition between the prior chief and Lieutenant Hanschmidt, who was the lieutenant. They've really stepped up and taken on more responsibilities. So the proposal I have in front of you as far as the restructure is to eliminate the lieutenant position and not just lose the position, but move that to an officer position. So it helps with our manpower on the street. So we get immediate results with no budget increase. And so I like that as well. So that's the direction, that's the first part of this. And so I think I'll pause there and maybe open that up for any questions as far as that restructure. And on the graph, you can basically see how it changes the department and kind of evens things out on each side. The other benefit, there are other benefits to this. There's more of an overlap of shifts because there's 3 and 3 on each side. It also helps if people are sick or on vacation. We don't have to necessarily do drastic measures in order to fill those voids. The sergeant can fill in for some of those voids if need be. So there are a lot of pros to this, and really I don't see any cons to doing it this way. I have spoken with Andy, the town manager, about the fact that not having a lieutenant and making sure that, you know, if I'm not available, that there's that the sergeants, if we do this, are capable. And at this point, I do feel like they're capable. The other thing you have to understand, and I'd like to relay, is we have such a great relationship with the sheriff's department. So when we have a bigger sort of incident or a bigger issue, there's also great leadership and supervision over at the sheriff's department. It's given me a chance to see how their sergeants work and how their captains work and under sheriff and sheriff. So that's the other thing. They know that they can rely on others in our community for support in the event of a bigger incident. So, but I'm also available. So I'm typically available like anybody 24/7. So for those phone calls. So I'll pause there for council and the folks online if anyone has any questions about moving the department in this direction.
Chief, I thought it was a really good report, and I gotta tell you, it's hard to knock it. Seems like the thing to do, and especially as you pointed out, it's such a small force. You know, yeah, it takes away some of the top heavy aspects, and I think gives us more flexibility. I wholeheartedly support it.
Yeah, Chief, I think this is a perfect example of thinking outside the box for the betterment. My first question was going to be, it's not causing you a hardship, but it sounds like it's helping the situation. So kudos to you of restructuring it a little bit. I do have one question about the 5 years. You said the 5 years is to have them step in your position when you're gone. Is that what it is? And is that 5 years at the Idaho Springs Police Department or at any experience?
So, Mayor, Council, so to answer that, normally in law enforcement community, to be a first line supervisor, you'd have to have 5 years of general law enforcement experience. So that would include in another department or at the Idaho Springs Police Department. Of course, both of these people have more than 5 years of experience at the Idaho Springs Police Department. And one has a number of years prior to that.
So when you say you would be able to add an additional officer besides what is structured now, would that change at no cost?
Correct. So by basically eliminating lieutenant position and not having it exist anymore within the department, I would be proposing that we would just make that a patrol officer position. So it enhances the police force and gives us more people on the street. And we still have supervision on both ends of both sides, what we call it. And the reason it's set up that way is that they're on 10-hour shifts. And when you have an overlapping Wednesday, so overlapping Wednesdays are training days, which is really, really important for us. So that's the whole point to having Sunday through Wednesday and then Wednesday back Saturday, is that 1 week, one week, half of the department will go to attend training while the other handles the street. And then the next week they flip so that the other squad goes to training and the other one handles the street.
I like this. I like that it makes it a more balanced structure. I like that that leaves 2 folks in case something happens where you can't be there. I also like that I think that this is a better career path for the officers. It allows 2 corporals to become sergeants, which has to be a positive thing for their career path.
Right. And the other thing I did put in there and discuss with them the council was, you know, outstanding in getting some raises for the employees this year. And so that was part of that, because they were already getting more tasks and duties put on them. And so, you know, that was one of the things that we did. So there wouldn't be, of course, any costs associated with this plan. I think that Councilman Collier had her hand up.
Oh, sorry, Kate. I didn't know you had your hand up.
It's okay. I was just going to agree with what you guys. I think it's a great idea, and it's always amazing when someone thinks out of the box. So that was, you know, great job.
Okay.
I agree.
All right, sounds unanimous.
Okay, then I'll address the second part of this memorandum. So one of the things that was one of the goals that I had, whether it was a short-term or long-term goal for our department, was to enhance our technology and really catch us up to what the other departments and agencies actually in Clear Creek are already doing. So, you know, the sheriff's department, again, our buddies that really we work with constantly, we all share the same computer system. Okay, so we share the same dispatching system and records management system. And there's a reason for that. Now we can see their reports if we have investigations that might involve people that we don't necessarily deal with, but they have, and vice versa. They can see our investigations so that we can, you know, more appropriately handle things and really try to tie things together if we have like burglaries and stolen cars and things like that. So, but as part of that computer-aided dispatch system, the system has the ability for a dispatcher to send officers to a call, and the information comes up onto your computer in real time. So if they give you a lot of information, like there was a robbery, there was a blue car with license plate 123 XYZ, and they're saying these things, right now our officers have to either just try to jot it down or, you know, throw it on their hand. Or so what this system does is it allows that all that dispatch information comes up immediately on their monitor, and it'll have information like who the caller is, you know, their location. It has all the call detail information, and that's called the CAD system, the computer-aided dispatch system. So right now our officers don't have access to that. The sheriff's department does have access to that in their cars. There's multiple benefits for just having that information, meaning oftentimes there'll be something that'll happen and we may not hear it. And so it's pretty simple to then look on the CAD system to see who's being sent to what calls. So there's a lot of benefit to sort of us knowing what they're doing and us being able to see that. That's the first piece of this. This is what most, again, progressive law enforcement agencies have in their cars, is this dispatching system. The other thing is it has mobile mapping. Mobile mapping basically is a technology that it's going to show where your car is on a map. So it's tied into your computer. So it's your car, your computer. And so the dispatchers, fellow officers and deputies can see where everybody else is live in a live map. So, you know, we've had 2 pursuits in the last 7-8 days here in this county. We've had a number of pretty significant incidents occur in this county, and really I should say Idaho Springs, but through the county. And so as far as the tactics for officers to be able to see where each other are when you're trying to do like a perimeter, when you're trying to set up a perimeter, is a good example of, I know that this deputy's over here, so I may need to go set up over here, and that sort of thing. The other thing is, as far as officer safety, it's also a nice piece. If for some reason you're not able to get a hold of somebody on the radio, you can find their car. I mean, you should be able to find you will be able to find their car with this. So as long as they're in their car. So that's also a benefit. And then the last piece of it is the electronic citations as part of it. That's going to take a little more doing for the department, and it's a goal, but there would be other costs associated with that. And right now, I want to just tackle what we can tackle. And I think that'll set us up for the future for maybe looking for some funding for that down the road. I will add that I did ask for a grant to pay for this system and we weren't selected. So I did try to go down a path of having a grant pay for this last year, and we weren't selected. I guess not enough money to go around. So I was proposing that the city look at reallocating basically unfunded salaries, because we've had, I say 2 officers, there's 2 officers and a lieutenant who haven't been filled, but 2 officer positions until now, and use that money to pay for this upgraded system, so that the bottom line number for the budget is not going to exceed the budget, but certainly it's a reallocation of basically salaries towards the technology. And we would have to budget for the ongoing costs, which I believe is like $2,900 a year. But there is the big cost up front to set it up. And I will point out, the Sheriff's Department has this, the Georgetown Police Department has this, and the Empire Police Department has this system. So we're sort of the last domino to try to get this system.
Will this integrate with the county sheriff system? Because you said it will allow officers, dispatch, and deputies. So would this integrate with their system as well?
Yes. So we see we can see where the Empire police officer is and the Georgetown.
Would implement with anyone who has that system? Say for some reason our officer was in Lakewood, and Lakewood had that system, would that integrate? I'm just curious.
No, because they're all different vendors. So I will say this, Blackhawk has the same system. So the Blackhawk Police Department, and I'm not sure if the sheriff does. I'm not sure if Gilpin County has the same system. So we're in discussions about trying to share our records, so that if we have somebody that is, committing crimes here but lives there, and vice versa. So we're talking about that. I'd have to look, but I would say there's 40+ agencies in Colorado that have the same system.
So it would also provide kind of a safety net for a police officer who is out somewhere by himself or herself. They would realize where he or she was and be able to respond to that if it was a overwhelming situation for them.
Correct.
It would help. It would be a little safer for the police officers.
Correct.
How easily will this integrate with our current dispatch system?
It's pretty seamless because it's all part of the same eForce as our system, and it's the system that dispatch uses. So it's you're paying for something that they really just have to turn on. It's doing some of the other things with the computers in our cars. We'll have to work with our IT person to make sure all of that is functioning the way that it should. But since others have done it, we have people to ask.
Okay.
Does State Patrol have the same, can you interact with State Patrol?
No, different systems. There's dozens and dozens of these different systems and vendors. They're RMS systems, records management systems. So, but I've been very impressed with the system they are using here in Clear Creek County. I came from a place that had a different system that was really pretty state of the art and had all these things. I think this system is just as good. I mean, it's actually a very good system. So,
Just curiosity, you talked about the sheriff's helping us and we help the sheriff. If it's ever overwhelming, does the state troopers ever get involved? If you use them as a backup as well?
they do.
Zips are pretty thin as well, I know.
They are. So, for instance, I was at a meeting last Thursday. We meet every month at Marion's. Some people see us. It's an ops meeting, and the sheriff, myself, Blackhawk chief, Gilpin sheriff, the fire chief, fire services, and the state police has a representative. The folks that do the weigh station down here have a representative. And then there's people from the EMS side, the medical folks, they also come to this meeting. And so it's, we sort of share what's working and what's not working. We tend to talk about incidents that we've had and what kind of went well and what maybe need to improve on for the next time. The number of incidents we've had recently, including these pursuits, have involved us. Well, one of them involved us. An Empire officer was the first to back up our officer, and then the sheriff's department. Then another one involved, it was the sheriff, it was started by the state police that ended over down here by the mine, and then involved us, the sheriff's department, and it was a SWAT call out because they thought the person might be harmed. They caught one person and they caught the next person the next day. So, and these just happened in the last 6 days.
Was that the one that was referenced on the electric signs, not the company check that was a pursuit or something?
Possibly.
All right, anything else for Chief? Yes,
One
Andy?
thing I might mention, it's a formality, but an important step is getting the new job description approved by council. So that will be done by resolution at the next council meeting in 2 weeks.
Very good.
So there'll be a resolution with the job description, new job description that is in your work session packet.
All right, very good. All right, well, then that will conclude the work session. We can take a break here at 6:53. We'll come back at 7 o'clock and have a regular meeting. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Here, I'll let you out.
Yeah,
This,
I know.
that's overall.
Hey, that's what you guys hear.
Hey, John,
Yes.
should I just stay on?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
So there will be a new
Yes.
link. Do the,
I was gonna-
just squeeze him in for
Right
the.
after.
Right, I didn't hear you.
We're just gonna leave it up.
Okay, that's fine, great.
Yeah, sure. He's just wondering, sorry, then,
Right.
yeah, I got stuff.
All right, like 2 minutes before you roll out.
Yeah, I'm not leaving.
Oh, you're coming back.
Yeah.
I'll get you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No,
After's
you-
okay?
Yeah, that's fine too. You have something else to do.
We're just. Yeah.
How's it going?
No worries.
Is that good? You liking it up here? Yeah.
I'm really looking at it.
Okay, cool.
Councilman Clark will not be with us today. He's got some recovery in Grand Lake. So. Maybe he won't be here at all. No, he just,
How's life?
Chief is giving it before I saw my phone line up. I stood there in case Jimmy was gonna tell me he was gonna get here. Okay. I got.
Gosh, that's a long day.
It's over here.
Well, last Monday I drove there.
Yeah.
Good, how are you?
Yeah, we did.
Hey, how are you? Oh, no, I'm good. Thank you for trailing.
It was fun. We went like.
I did it, but I said, I know it was gonna come that way, so I'm like, no, that's okay. And our state couldn't do it on our day and. we'll figure it.
Jared and I were going fast.
So I-
So down like-
I- And I actually. Yeah, it's, because I really wanna make sure that, I want everyone to be there. I just think, you know. Yeah, it's nice. Most of everyone,
That's a
I know,
wall.
in my house. So,
He knows that.
so.
Yeah. Like 30 minutes.
Yeah, you have less.
Okay.
It's very light. It's not alarming or obnoxious at all. Truly.
Work here.
But- I'm gonna do it in a few minutes, but if you wanna watch me, I can also.
Sounds good. I know Diane has really big digits on her phone.
Something is life, higher and better use than you. Well, and I still get to see cars. My daughters are like cars. Yeah, that's a good job.
Well, this one might go a little long.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Hi Cameron, how are you? Good, how are
So,
you? I
those
know,
neighbors,
they're fun.
So like for $24 million, hopefully that's not.
Yeah.
You guys were from
what I expected. Did you get out and throw any more shoes over the weekend? Right? Did you get out and throw any more shoes over the weekend? No.
All right. Had the grandkids
Okay.
Saturday, and then watched the other grandkids Sunday.
It sounds like you're really involved with your grandkids. That's nice. Yeah. School and things like that. Nice. I'm looking forward to those days.
Yeah,
Makes a little ways off, unfortunately.
yeah.
Or fortunately, I guess.
You don't have any grandkids yet?
She was very,
I have two daughters. They've got it's still a little long.
It's fine, it's fine.
It's okay.
Take your time.
Some I want, but it's okay.
Mine didn't get any until I had my first.
the end of the day.
So, and at that point, there was no, they weren't sure that they were going to be.
But we had this whole, it was like this thing.
We were late bloomers, we had children and
Yeah.
wife was in their late thirties, so.
You know what? I wasn't ready. Like, I have so many friends from college that had kids at 25, and I was like, oh, I should have brought, I was living life.
Yeah.
I know, so I understand.
We don't work out that, but, you know, sometimes we were older.
Trying to run it.
Parents come in all different shapes.
Yeah, but you know what? When you're older, like, things you get all worked up about, I'm way older than I was in my 20s. Like, I just, there's some stuff I'm like,
It's so hard finding a contractor.
yeah, you just know that it's just not one of those things that gets by.
It's totally on.
Yeah, my mom was related to that first grade, I graduated out of high school. It is a journey for all of us.
Particularly in the last couple of years.
He's also at too many jerks. He's like, I'm not walking, I'm like,
Particular accomplishment.
yes, yes, you are walking. Can't believe it.
Yeah, because I just figure like, maybe if I just.
The word reaching.
Then you walk away like.
Use our EMT to do the 3 minutes. So she'll keep time on what.
She demonstrated it and it wasn't too intrusive. It's about right. I didn't know it was an antique.
I don't know how much.
Why should I not be surprised? We have a lot of things like that.
But it's been on the front counter as long as I've been here. I've never used it.
Yeah.
Mine is.
So she's not drunk with power.
Right. So.
Hey, Jerry, can I borrow that?
Yes,
Hey, how are you?
You say it every time.
Always come and talk to me. Yeah.
That's over here.
Yeah.
Because we'll have people on the list. That you can accept as an export or would So we'll do the, people say, well, and then we asked for anybody on Zoom to raise their hand, and then we called them up. But well, I took that back. The first thing we did is some of them, so we did that, then we did then we went back to Zoom. I'll actually speak to them, I'll hand over my report in the meeting, and then you may answer the questions.
You know what, I'm gonna just.
Yes.
On Sunday, we will have appreciation. And.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. That's right.
That's okay, you're allowed to
I'm like,
No, I spent many minutes.
yeah, yeah. My family's like,
Oh, man, I got
We got the function afterwards. We're definitely which is fine. I mean, we want to make a place, you know, we talked about how to get
You're like, maybe not.
we spend our summer and I
That's definitely a.
Thanks for all
Oh,
your.
no, I was
Mark Platt.
Welcome, everybody, to the regular city council meeting, April 11th, 2022, here in city of Idaho Springs. Glad to see a lot of folks in attendance. That's really nice. I am going to have roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon,
Here.
Scott Pennell,
Sorry, here.
Medical, here, Jim Clark, Art Cacavelli,
Here.
John Curtis,
Here.
Kate Collier.
Here.
All right. Thank you. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. All right, I have an agenda before us. I'd like to make a slight modification underneath approval of bills. We have the distinct honor of swearing in a new officer. Been running like 66% forever. It's nice to do that. Matthew Moore, I think he's got some family in attendance too. So I would like for him to be sworn in after approval of the bills. And then also inadvertently, after Mr. Moore is sworn in, we meant to have a public comment. And not to split hairs, but folks are welcome to make public comment. But I also want everybody to know we're going to have a public hearing. And if you're here about the Gold Digger Field development, you may speak for up to 3 minutes during that hearing regarding that. So, but I wanted you to know that we inadvertently left it off. So with that amended agenda, may I have a motion, please?
A motion to approve the agenda for the April 11th, 2022 meeting.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, agenda is approved. And does anyone tonight feel they have a conflict of interest?
Yeah, I have a conflict of interest with the Block 77. So I would like to recluse myself.
All right, thank you. And We have minutes before us from March 28th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes from March 28th, 2022.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, thank you. Motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now we've got approval of the bills.
I move to approve the bills to April 11th, 2022.
Thank you, Art. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Jim Clark. Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Now for the swearing in of Matthew Moore.
Raise your right hand for me, please. And repeat after me. I, Matthew Moore,
I, Matthew Moore,
do solemnly declare
do solemnly declare
and affirm
and affirm
that I will support
that I will support
and uphold
and uphold
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws
Constitution and laws
of the state of Colorado,
of the state of Colorado,
and the laws and ordinances
and the laws and ordinances
of the city of Idaho Springs,
of the city of Idaho Springs,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
well and truly,
well and truly,
and to the best of my skill
to the best of my skill
and ability,
and ability,
perform the duties
perform the duties
of police officer
of police officer
for the city of Idaho Springs,
for the city of Idaho Springs,
upon which I'm about to enter.
on which I'm about to enter.
Excellent. Thank you.
And also, I'd like to welcome Matthew, and we're excited to have him. He graduated from an academy already. And so he starts his training. He's already started his training. And I also would like him to introduce his family.
Yeah.
All right, this is my fiance and daughter. So my fiance's name is Adriana, and my daughter's name is Athena. This is my mom, Aurora, and my father, Michael.
We do a group.
Welcome to our community.
Yeah, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Let's do a group picture together real quick, okay? No one there. Okay, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Go ahead. Keep behind you.
Thank you. Be patient.
I just want to say
Long circuitous route, isn't it?
yes, it is. All right, now we have any public comment not related to Block 57? All right, then at 7:11, I'd like to call a public hearing for the application of 4 Points funding. And Jared, if you would, please start us off.
I'm gonna recluse myself, Chuck.
All right, see you in a little while, Scott.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor and Council. Before you this evening is an item that the Planning Commission reviewed last Wednesday night and voted in approval, recommended approval of this item 5-0 with 7 conditions. I'll go through those conditions a little later. So I'm going to briefly go through my staff report, then invite the petitioner up to give their presentation. The location of this proposal, which the proposal is a final development plan, a final plat for a mixed use development at Block 57 Gold Digger Field, to include the bus maintenance facility and property located to the west of the existing field. So the request, as I mentioned, is a final development plan and a final plat. So prior to this application coming forward, there was a previous application for a planned development and rezoning of the property. So that occurred in October and it was passed. So the FDP really focuses on abiding by the rules set forth in the plan development. That plan development is more or less the framework for this application, what you're seeing this evening. The zoning is plan development, and then the property to the west is zoned R1. Comprehensive plan is the proposed development is within the exit 240 gateway area. The comprehensive plan indicates this area as regional commercial. However, when you drill down deeper into the plan, it does talk about residential as well, and that's noted in my report. The PD, as was approved back in October, puts a cap on the number of units that would be allowed for apartments, and it also puts a cap on the amount of commercial space. So it's 120 unit maximum apartments, and then 12,000 maximum square footage of commercial space. That PD also included park site and a number of other provisions. The petitioner is proposing 119, about 119 apartment units, and then about 2,500 square feet of commercial space. So quite a bit under the original 12,000. And I'm sure the petitioner will get into the details of that. Subdivision, so there is a final plat that would comply with the subdivision, have to comply with subdivision regulations. There's a couple minor cleanup items on the plat that is before you this evening, but it does fulfill the subdivision regulations in regard to land dedication. In regards to the plats, there was also another ordinance that was passed by the city council back in October, went hand in hand with the PD, that discussed vacating some right of way, and then the petitioner dedicating some right of way as well. So that has previously been considered, and that is reflected within the final plat that you see this evening. Land use and zoning. There's 3 buildings proposed on the property. As I mentioned, 119 residential units and 2,500 square feet of retail space. The park sites is to the east of the property. It's on the bus maintenance, located approximately where the bus maintenance facility is currently. And that complies with the land dedication. Lot coverage, there's a minimum of 15% of the lot has to be open space. So what surrounds the buildings, et cetera, this proposal easily complies with that standard. This proposal is also in compliance with all the setbacks set forth in the PD and with the maximum height set forth in the PD. So the 2 buildings that front on minor streets, as you can see here, they're the 2 buildings to the north. They have a profile of 2 stories facing Minor Street. However, on the rear of those 2 buildings, there's an additional story on building 1. So it's a 3-story building as seen from I-70. And that is due to the grade change where the bleachers are. And then on building 2, the one to the east on Minor Street, there we go. That one does have a small 4th floor on the top as well, but it is in compliance with the maximum height because there's a stair step setback there. The building 3, the one to the east, that building is predominantly a 4-story building. However, when it faces the park site, there's only 3 stories shown, or there are only 3 stories in that elevation. And that's because as you enter the site, you also slope down off Idaho Street. And that brings me to access. There's two primary access points. One is next, just to the south of the rec, and across the street would be the park site. But as you enter into the sites, that's the primary access point there off of Idaho Street. And that slopes down, it leads into a a stem of parking that loops all the way back to Minor Street. So the access point to Minor Street is located in the additional area that was added onto this project. That since that additional land to the west is only being used as access and parking, it does not require the whole thing did not require a PD amendment. So that's important to note. And that is, as I mentioned, just because it's a used for parking, there's no buildings or anything else located on that site. So the access point is in between existing 8th and 9th Avenue. We do have a traffic report from the petitioner, and that was reviewed by independent traffic engineer that the city has contracted with to take a look at this. And that our traffic engineer that the city hired feels that that is in compliance with our regulations and should function appropriately. There's sidewalks located throughout the site, but then there's also quite a bit of work proposed to be done on Minor Street. So there would be additional parking spaces added on the south side of Minor Street and a sidewalk on the south side of Minor Street. On the north side of Minor Street, there would be parking between 9th and 10th. And then a portion of there would be sidewalk also on 9th and 10th. But once you get past 9th, there's a portion of sidewalk that's shown heading towards 8th. And actually to the north there, John, the darker line. Keep going to the right. Anyway, there's a portion of sidewalk there. So there's some issues extending that sidewalk in an easier manner. So the city our staff and the planning commission are proposing that the city work with the petitioner on acquiring easements to extend the sidewalk and then working with them on the funding of that final stretch to 8th Avenue. Parking spaces. So the site currently, the spaces that are required are 185. However, there's a parking reduction because it's a mixed use site. So that equates to 168 parking spaces being required for this development. The spaces provided are 195. However, that is gross spaces. In the PD, it talked about removing spaces that are currently located on the south side of Idaho Street and on the south side of Minor Street. So that equates to 13 spaces. So ultimately, that spaces proposed are 182, which is 14 spaces above the parking spaces that are required of 168. Now, the petitioner is finalizing a couple of units inside the building, so there might be minor adjustments. However, staff would ensure that they're in compliance with the parking spaces versus the spaces proposed. Lighting. So the petitioner is proposing 25-foot light poles that are at a 90-degree angle, so they are downcast. They would not spill. Staff and the planning commission did recommend a condition to add just a little bit more lighting on the very western side to illuminate parking spaces. Staff and the planning commission also have another condition regarding the roof articulation to building 1. The code talks about there being one additional roof articulation there. And so that is an added condition. Garbage facilities, the staff is requesting that in the future, a detail be included in the plans that indicates how the garbage facilities will be screened so that it's in compliance with the code. There's snow removal has been shown on the plans, snow removal locations. Landscaping. Landscape plans comply with the minimum size requirements in the ordinance. Staff recommends that the petitioner consider adding a few evergreen trees to the site. There are some there, but maybe look at a couple more, especially on the western property line, because staff is also recommending that a fence go along the western property line. And that is one of the conditions that came through planning commission as well. Consideration for review and approval. There are findings of fact there for both the final development plan and the final plans. So staff believes that with these minor adjustments, that both of those findings of fact have been met. Community engagement, there was a meeting on February 17th for community engagement prior to the Plan Commission meeting. And that was only for the final development plan. There were a number of community engagement meetings prior to the PD as well over the summer. Summary, it is staff's opinion that the FDP meets with these minor adjustments, meets the plan development and the municipal code, and is recommending approval with these 7 conditions. Installing a sidewalk along the north side of Minor Street between 8th and 9th Avenue. As indicated on the plans, the city will assist with the necessary easements and funding of the sidewalk extension between the indicated terminus and 8th Avenue. Installing additional lighting to illuminate the parking area located on the south and west property lines. Adding an additional distinct ridge line to building 1. Installing privacy fence and adjacent landscaping along the western property line. Screening air conditioning units in garbage area per the municipal code. Limiting carport structures to no more than 6 spaces. Not saying that they can't be next to one another, but the code does state that you can't have more than 6 in one structure. And then the Plan Commission did discuss one new condition, and that condition is for the developer to work with the city to offer available apartments to local residents prior to being released to the open market. Staff is more than happy to work with the petitioner in the future to fulfill that item if that is so included in your motion. With that, I'd invite the petitioner up for public comment. Yes.
Thank you. It's nice to be in person. My name is Kelly Flanagan. I live on 491 Zip Trail, Idaho Springs, but I'm really here today on behalf.
Yes.
Sorry. For all public comment as well as applicant testimony, we need to swear these folks in, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will you please state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, Kelly Flanagan. It's Kelly Flanagan. I still live at 491 Zip Trail. And I am here today on behalf of the Board of Education. I represent District C, which covers Idaho Springs and the property in question.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you. I want to just give a little bit of background on this project and how this came to be and why the school board has been involved in it. So as we all know, we lovingly refer to the new high school up on Floyd Hill, which is in fact over 20 years old. But the field up there, the athletic field, which if you have not been, I definitely encourage you to go, has been our primary athletic field for our football team for the last 2 years. We need to sell the property that is formerly known as Gold Digger Field. There's lots of reasons for it, and I will get into some of those, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about the background is how we landed with 4 Points in the process that we undertook as a body to land there. We really built out 4 criteria. We've had interest in the property kind of give and take over the last 20 years. And how could we find something that was really tangible and viable? So we set forth with a rubric to really evaluate those proposals as they came forward and by whom. First and foremost, it was important that they could demonstrate to us that they had financial viability and that they could see a project through from an idea to completion. We needed a partner who could demonstrate a commitment to our community, our identity, where we are, where we're trying to go. We needed an applicant who would be deeply committed to engaging with our public. And finally, an applicant that could demonstrate a track record of success, and in particular, a track record of success in rural Colorado. We found that with 4 Points, and we were very, very excited to be under contract with them for this. I said I would mention to you some of the needs from our perspective that become resolved by this project. Our TMF, that is our transportation maintenance facility. It's otherwise known as our bus barn. It is beyond its useful life and truly is beyond repair. Our team is exceptional and they're doing a great job with what they can, but they need a better, more suitable facility. We also struggle to retain our educators. Not only do I serve as a board member, but I have 2 young children that go to Carlson. And the idea of just this constant spinning wheel of educators turning around is troubling. We can find currently that rents for our teachers are averaging between $2,500 and $3,000 for a 1 to 2 bedroom apartment. They simply cannot afford to live here. And in fact, a lot of our educators drive through 1, 2, maybe 3 school districts with lower price housing and maybe even a higher salary when they come here. I can tell you they're committed to being part of our school district, but being able to provide a place for them to live here in their community would be really meaningful. With those few things, I would encourage you to approve this project at both the recommendation of your staff, the unanimous vote from the Planning Commission. We are really excited to work with 4 Points. They've been a wonderful partner with us as we begin this project many years ago. I'd like to now introduce you, if you don't know, to Stephanie Copeland with 4 Points Funding. Thank you.
I know the girl. Okay. Stephanie Copeland, 312 North High Street, Denver. Here we have 4 Points Funding.
Please. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you. Thanks for your attention and time tonight. As Kelly mentioned, we've been working on this project with the school district for some time. We're thrilled to be here. We are an opportunity zone fund that is investing solely in Colorado. I've met many of you, but not all of you, so I'm sorry to be redundant a little bit. We are committed to building housing for workforce across the state in rural Colorado, outside of the metro, kind of the core metro area, because this need has been unmet for so long. And we do this without subsidy or without tax credits. We do this by using a private investment mechanism that is the private investors are incented to invest in these areas through our fund. We're proud of the design of the project. We're proud of what we think it'll bring to the community and also how we think it will integrate into the community. And we have had a tremendous amount of conversations with the community, positive and negative. And I respectfully heard and listened to all of them, some of which informed some of the changes that we made to the development itself. And I also understand wholeheartedly how difficult sometimes development is in a town that is so close-knit and so identified with itself. And we are committed to being a very good neighbor. We will be a long-term landowner here and developing this in a way that does create benefit to the community and provides an investable property for my investors. So I'm going to turn it over to Carlo for our presentation and happy to answer questions as well when the time comes.
Carla Nicole, can you spell that? EOKRYWKA. I am at 2857 Highway 103. Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. I'm going to be passing it off to Nate in the middle of the presentation. Can we swear him in at the same time so that we can have a continuous presentation? Or Carmen, is that all right?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Hi, Nathan Crone,
Do that. Oops.
Can you spell your last name for me?
KROHM. I'm at 681 South Harrison Lane, Denver.
Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Let's make it a little bit more structured transition. I appreciate it. Thank you all. First of all, I want to say thank you for taking the time tonight to obviously hear us and the patience with going through this process. I know for most of you, it's been quite a long piece. And then also I want to thank staff for their endless time and effort in working with us to make this the best project it can be for our community. And finally, the school district, because they have been a great partner with us as well, and in telling us what needs to happen, how it needs to happen, and how we get through this. So with that, I'm going to dig into the design. And as you know, we've been calling it Block 57. We are planning on calling it the Field House. That idea of harkening back to what it is and today and what it has been for the community for a while. What you're seeing behind that is the public park looking east. You see the rec center off to the side here. There's my mouse. This is the rec center, kind of on that far west side. Sorry, far left side of the, our project team. So you've met 4 Points. 4 Points is the applicant, is the primary applicant, and our surveyor is a local Weston. He runs Clear Creek, and he does a lot of the city work as well. I am the representative from Space Inc. We're the architects that work through the design of the project and the entitlements, and we are the owner's rep going forward. And our civil engineer is online with us for questions if you've got civil questions coming up. He is out of Evergreen with Mark Gladney with the civil engine. He's with Elevated Civil. Sorry, our structural and mechanical engineers who we have been coordinating with are out of Denver, and we'll be bringing on the work group, which is will be the architect of record, and that's primarily to get the majority of the work done quickly so that we can get this into permitting and get it built as soon as possible. And then Nate, who we just met briefly, is with Back 40, and he is our landscape architect, and he'll be going through our site plan to walk you through how we got all these great spaces on our site. Just a reminder, and I think Jared went through all this, but 119 units. We are proposing 2,500 square foot general retail space, 20,000 square foot multiple park space. We have a lot more open space across the site, which you will see, but that 20,000 square feet is primarily the open space in front of the rec center. And then 182 parking spaces is what's on the plan today, which Jared went through. And then just a reminder that this is a fully funded project that 4 Points is bringing to Idaho Springs. For those of you that may not have been tracking all of the public meetings we've been having for the last year or more, last year really, I guess, the first one happened, and that was a placemaking session that centered around all of Exit 240 in cooperation with the school district. And that happened back in April last year, almost a year ago today. And then we had neighborhood business owners, multiple community meetings, and that was really one on the request of the school district, but also because we knew that this was a highly visible project, obviously, but also, you know, there were a lot of concerns around it, and how could we bring the best project to Idaho Springs and its community. And we had the PD zoning hearing, which many of you were a part of. And then we had our official community meeting back in February, as Jerry mentioned. The Planning Commission was last Wednesday, and here we are today with you all. So things that we learned from that community meeting from those community meetings were height, density, privacy, and views were definitely a concern. Reduced sound, that was noted as a great thing, that these buildings we know that these buildings are gonna block some of that sound to the neighbors to the north. And we had a number of people happy about that. Community space, we're bringing, you'll see that shortly. Shading, how shading was affecting, and we have that in later slides to show you. The lighting, and that was really more of a concern about, is there gonna be so much lighting that there's gonna be an issue with impacting our night sky, essentially. And so with the regulations that are in the PD that we wrote into the PD, we're addressing that. And then landscape and xeriscaping was something that the community wanted, something that was less water intense. And so we'll speak a little bit to that as well. Where we are in this project schedule. So today is April, right in the middle, April 22nd, 2022. We are at final development plan. Assuming hopefully be approved tonight, we'll go right into construction documents in the next month or so. and with possible groundbreaking before the end of the year, depending on pricing and how all that goes. But that is the intent right now. Just a reminder of what exactly we're talking about here. So the rec center is this location right here with the green pin dot. And then the maintenance facility is to the south of that. That will become our open space multi-use park. And then the rest of the site here is the existing Gold Digger Field with the dirt lot to the far west, adjacent to the mobile homes. That is the new lot that Jared referred to as the R1 designation. So this is how it translates to our site plan. So you can see that lot, to the far west is part of our entry. There's 2 green spaces there. This will be building 1 and building 2 right along Minor Street, the reconstructed Minor Street. And then we'll have building 3, which really has 4 faces to it. One facing the multi-use park, one facing the highway, one facing town, and one facing the development itself, and then our park. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Nate to go through our open space.
Yeah, so as Carla mentioned, my name is Nate. So after going through kind of a series of designs that for site organization, I think we're really excited about where we landed with the site plan and extending kind of the existing traditional block grid in through the site and tying it to the rest of Idaho Springs. We're also able to align the site access in this kind of spine with the existing central alley and locating a series of open spaces along that. So we're really excited about this development being kind of a really quality bookends to the central alley that's already existing. Arrows. Yes. Arrows. So this view, we'll go back a slide. This view is of Minor Street. You can see the mouse. It's a perspective taken from here looking east along Minor Street. So we want to show extending the walkability, expansion of Minor Street into our site, and then highlighting the walkability and continuation of the downtown Minor Street up onto our site. This view also highlights the architecture and the scaling, articulation along that, so the scaling down to the adjacent neighborhood. This is just an overall 3D view of the site. So there are 4 open spaces that we're going to talk about. And I guess something I should probably touch on with the site as a whole, like Carla mentioned, is really we are trying to be water conscious with 60 to 70% of the site. We're looking to do xeric landscaping, low water required landscaping, but we do still have a series of lawns. We felt that was important to have kind of open lawn, open space, just because the field was an existing flat surface that the town will be losing. So we'll start with the central lawn, then go over to the park, the western green, and then end with the detention basin area. So the central lawn is between building 1 and 2. This is really our kind of primary open space for our site and for the residents on our site. So we really envision like outdoor people hanging out in this space, grilling, playing games. This is for this community and the residents here. The park, so the park is on the east end of the development, adjacent to the rec center. So in developing the park, we really wanted, again, to have an open flexible lawn space primarily for outdoor recreation. We really see kind of a partnership happening between the rec and bringing kind of activities over to the park, and so providing a space for the community to do those activities in. You'll notice that the west end of the park is a little more hardscape plaza. This kind of is twofold. So we have a fire lane here. And so we're really kind of trying to disguise that fire lane in the hardscape plaza. Building 3 has retail. And so we are showing right now like terrace seating, tables and chairs, not fully defined yet what that retail space will become. But it's fitting to have kind of a hardscape plaza to the west end of the park. One thing to note on the kind of south and eastern edges, we have activities, play equipment for kids. Right here is, we're providing space for potentially a future climbing boulder, but funding for that, we would look to develop some sort of partnership with the rec center. So right now we're just providing a space for that program. Here's a view of the park. So perspective is right here where my mouse is, looking west, back towards building 3. Rec center is here to the north. And I-70 is really looking to screen I-70 from the park through the use of evergreens. The western green space is an extension of our site onto the additional property. So this is really a flexible lawn, sloping lawn. We see this as kind of a passive place for people to interact with their dogs, pets, but just an additional green space for residents to go. It can also serve as potential snow storage for the site. And then way on the western edge, this is, we're putting native seed here to kind of tie that into the I-70 right away. There's an existing culvert that we have to kind of respect. I think Jared had already mentioned additional trees, so I think we'll look to put a couple additional trees in this. But really, this is kind of native seed for the site. The detention basin, one of the primary reasons for showing this is to show that the detention basin doesn't have to be just a gravel or dirt pit, like a lot of times we see. I think we really want this to be a viable space, or at least the upper kind of terrace of it to be a viable space for open space during the drier seasons. And so, yeah, so this is, again, kind of a lawn turf detention basin, and we will likely have to put like a gravel in the basin. So, yeah, the site plan, hand it back to Carla.
So I'll talk a little bit about the architecture and the buildings themselves. And so again, just kind of as a reminder, we've got building 1, building 2, and building 3. And as Jared stated earlier, building 1 is a 2-story on the front, 3-story in the back. Building 2 is 2-story in the front. And it's about half and half, maybe a little different, 2 and 3 and 4-story on the back, sorry. And then building 3 is primarily 4-story with 3-story facing the multi-use park. So this is a rendering from an aerial rendering with snow on the ground. So you can see the green spaces, and there's lines in here just to help kind of direct. You know, the purple is the drive aisle through the site, and then you can see blue if you're able to. There's blue kind of around the site and up through the site, which designate the sidewalks in the site plan. These metal roofs on the south side near the highway are carports that we're proposing. So kind of as a reminder, we are at 32 units per acre, essentially is our density. And we are maximum of 102,000 square feet. I think we're actually a little bit lower than that now. And 119 units, 2,500 square feet of retail. We are able to go up to the 12,000 square feet of retail. So that's where that change could happen depending on if the right retailer comes along that makes sense with the city's vision and what works in our space and what works for the retailer really in our buildings, then there could be slightly less units and slightly more retail. But right now, we know that we can handle 2,500 square feet of retail. That seems appropriate, and it also would help activate that park space. So if it's a smoothie shop or an ice cream shop or something that makes sense near the rec center and near the park. We are required 8% dedicated city right of way. We are slightly more than that. That would be 12,000 square feet. We're at 16, 10% square feet of public open space, 16. We're required 16,000 square feet. We're at 80,000 square feet with all of our open space land. And then from an open space pervious, we need 24,000 square feet to meet our PD, and we are at 58,000. So you can see we're well over in our open space calculations and providing multiple spaces to recreate, and whether it's the outside public or the residents of the place, the development. Parking, as Jared said, we're required 168, we're at 182 right now. So just to kind of give you a visual to go with that 2-story versus 3-story on the back or 4-story on the back and the height. So we are allowed 35 feet on the front. So you can see this pink line here, so about 35 feet. So as long as the center of our gable roofs are within that, we are meeting code. So we are well within that on that front face there. You can see the building steps up and back. And again, we can go up to 46 feet on the back side of facing the back side of the site or the south side of the site. And so again, that would be to the center of the gable. So you can see we are well within that 46 feet. So this is building 2, which is actually the 4-story building on the back side. Building 1 is a little bit better because it's a 3-story building. So you can see 2-story on the front, 3-story on the back, as well within that pink line, which is 46 feet. Measured from the back. Shade studies. So these are worst case scenario. This would be December 22nd, winter solstice. So you can see just at 9 a.m. the shade of the building is kissing the front of these buildings on the north side, the homes on the north side. 2 hours later is already pulled back to the lawn, and by 2 p.m. in the afternoon, it's minor slope there. So as a contrast, if you look at August, you can see that those are shading part of the sidewalk at 9 a.m. and by 2 a.m. they're clearing the sidewalk that's coming in front of the new sidewalk that's coming in front of Minor Street there. And so if you'll remember, for those of you that were part of the PD, a big portion of this site is along Minor Street is being given back to a city right of way. So what is approximately 36 feet in most locations to the east of our site down Minor Street, we're continuing that 36 feet. Right now, if you would go out there, right at, this is the intersection, this house is at 9 and Minor Street, this narrows down to about 1 lane without parallel parking. So you can see we're getting back quite a few feet back into our site so that we can make Minor Street wider. From a material standpoint, we're proposing black asphalt roofing, asphalt roof with accents of Corten metal, so essentially rusted metal accent roofs at specific gables along the Minor Street side as well as on the highway side. So this is Minor Street. This is the 2-story of building 1 on Minor Street. We've added these elements and we're using the awnings along there to bring scale and pedestrian scale to that street frontage. And then we are proposing red doors to sort of tie back to the Argo, that known Argo red that Idaho Springs is so known for. And then you can see here, this is really how the building lays out. So you've got the common corridor in the center, stacking all the way up. You've got the storage on the backside, and then you've got 3 stories on, say, storage against the mountain on the north side. And then you've got 3 stories facing Idaho, facing I-70, 2 stories facing Minor Street. So we're proposing these metal awnings and roof assemblies, and then the siding would be a horizontal lap siding that's sort of a weathered material so that it doesn't look crisp and brand new and something shiny that looks out of place in Idaho Springs. It's something that has a little bit of that historic character. And so this is a precedent image that we've been kind of going back to all along. And just from that idea of that monolithic mine feel, but also that weathered historic feel. So again, this is similar. This is building 2, 4 stories on the back side. It steps down towards the center of the site to 3 stories. And then you can see how the step addresses the front on Minor. So building 2 has slightly different elements to tie into that fabric of the residential neighborhood. Building 3 is a bit of a different animal. It's similar, but it's different. So we've sort of thought of, the side, if you sort of put a story to this site, and could it have been an old mine? Could it have been something that was historic? And I think it's ironic that the Mixel Dam photo is right behind us, because that was what was on the site, right on the edge. So the idea that this could have been a dormitory, it could have been a mine itself. And so building 3, we looked at, this one faces more of historic Idaho Springs. And so we're looking at bringing in some of those different colors that address the brick that's in historic Idaho Springs on Minor Street here, as well as tying that red color back in. And so if you look at the side elevation from I-70, this could have been the business side of a historic structure, and the back side could have been the industrial mining side with a clear story and with these more steep roofs and that kind of vocabulary to the structure. So we're also suggesting that these aren't crisp and brand new, that there could be some murals on these buildings, that there could be something that either brands Idaho Springs here, or it could be that, the name of the development is on the side, but that would be something we kind of work with the city with. But the idea that, as we work and look at the master plan that's been developed for Idaho Springs, and the idea that there's these murals across the city, that we could be tying into that. And in closing, I just want to go through the recommendations and the staff recommendations and the conditions that Planning Commission mentioned or stated. Coordination of the city sidewalk, the extension of the sidewalk at 8th and Minor, definitely willing to work with the city to get that done with this project. Install additional lighting in the south and the west property lines. We agree that that is a great idea for safety on the site, and we'd be willing to do that. I'd add additional distinct roof ridgeline to building 1. We will work with the city upon approval tonight. We will work with the city to make sure that we are meeting that requirement as well. Install a privacy fence and landscape near the western property border, which is where the mobile homes are. And that makes sense to us as well, to make sure that there's not headlights going in there and that there's, whether it's trees or whether it's fence or both, we'll work to do that. Screening of the air units and the garbage enclosures, absolutely, that's part of the next step in the design process for us. Limiting the carports to 6 spaces per carport, that's an easy one for us. And then the developer will work with the city to offer locals first prior to the open market for rentals of these units. We had a great meeting this morning, and we will continue to have those conversations to make sure that there is a set plan in place that everybody agrees on for offering those units up for locals first and foremost. So with that, I want to thank you guys, and I think public comment now, is that what happens?
Well, I was gonna open it up for council questions.
Oh, that is your business.
I can't hear you guys.
Engineer has been reviewing this as well, so he has been on top of all utility plans. But I will see if I can get you an answer to that.
Okay.
Carla, do you mind just seeing if it can hear you really quick?
Mark, are you there? Can everybody hear? Can everybody give a thumbs up if you can hear? Okay.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
It says Mark's talking, but we're not hearing.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, Mark, could you type it in the chat or text me? Is that him?
No, that was she.
Oh.
Okay, it sounds like the audio is better now for everyone.
How about now?
Mark, you want to try one more time?
Can you hear me?
Still not.
I can hear Mark. I don't know if you guys can.
Not a local person, just
No,
I
he's
can't
our civil
too.
engineer. He's out of Conifer, and so sometimes he's got the same problems we do here.
How about now?
Yeah.
Looks like he's typing.
We can't hear.
No?
Can't hear Keith. No.
They are dual, yes. Yeah,
Oh, they are dual, okay.
they are dual.
Councilwoman Collier, can you hear us?
I can hear you, and I can hear obviously the whole room. I can hear Mark and I can hear Carmen.
Yes.
So I don't know what it is between Mark's. That's
Yeah,
not
we can't
working.
hear you, Kate.
What's that?
I can hear you.
Me
Mark, you
too.
can
All
hear me?
right, any further questions?
Yeah,
Art?
I got a question. Speaking of power and all that, it's gonna be all electric development, no gas. the Excel is gonna bury the wires. Nice.
Yep.
How much are the rents gonna be?
Stephanie or Rob, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. And this is,
Oh, wait.
yeah.
Wait, I've already been. Yeah, so, we have right now we have 4 unit types. Can everyone hear me? So we have studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. We also have units set aside for the school district we have 4 units set aside for the school district that are 4 bedroom, but we're working with them to make sure we've got the right mix
How
of
many
units.
4 bedrooms do you have?
4.
You're gonna set them aside all for the teachers?
We're setting aside for first right to the teachers at their, yes.
How about police?
We are open to that discussion, but we made that in our contract when we purchased the property. The request from the school district was to address the teachers, but we've told Mitch and others that we would be open to making it for any public workforce in the city, as long as it's beneficial to
That are
them.
reduced rent?
Yes. So those 4 units. So I want to pull up my spreadsheet because I don't have it. You need to be sworn. I can't remember the
Yeah.
rents now.
Yeah, no, I can.
Okay. I just can't remember them and I want to give you the
Right,
actual.
right.
You know. What? I can't even.
So Rob McKenzie with 4 Points Development Company,
For your last name for me, Rob.
MACKENZI.
And your address?
1 Brookhaven Trail, Littleton, Colorado, 80123.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Yes, so the rents, and we're projecting them at this point, a lot of it is based on what market conditions are. But right now, we're estimating studios at kind of 13 per month area, plus or minus $50. 1 bedrooms go up to, call it 1,700-ish, 16 to 1,700. 2 bedrooms are right around 2,000 a month.
Which one? The 2
The
bedrooms?
2 bedrooms, and then the 4 bedrooms, and the 4 bedrooms are almost like 4 individual units. It'll have a shared kitchen and living area, but each bedroom will have a lock-off, bathroom to itself. That way, if it's 4 different teachers, they're not sharing showers and things like that. So those units will be fixed at 3,600 is what we're estimating right now per month, and that's really 900 per, call it, bedroom.
Okay, well, I mentioned to the mayor, and I want to just share this. First of all, thank you. You guys did a lot of work on this. It's obvious as the staff has. Unfortunately, as a council person, and I don't know about the rest of the council people, we haven't had a lot of opportunity to look at this. We got to go over all this and check out some of the things that have been said by different people who, engineers and stuff, which I don't understand, but have engineers that I can go to decipher that for me. So I'm a little concerned about, I'll put it out here first, taking a vote tonight at all for a lot of reasons, but let me continue with my questions if I may. And they're going to be all over the place, and I apologize. With that said, when you started this project or thought about it, was a year ago, a year and a half ago, today, and then future, obviously the cost of building has gone up drastically. So I'm curious how much your cost has gone up from day one to today, and how much you anticipated to go up from today to when you're going to start building. It's my understanding, and you have a better number for it because I listen to business people and, we can say different things, but on average, it seems to have gone up 22% to 28%, number one. And number two, that a lot of material is not available, like the kitchen cabinets, things like that, for many, many months. So how's that going to affect your cost more importantly, how's that gonna affect your cost and affect these rents? Because obviously, when the time comes, those rents will not be that, they're gonna be higher, and we all know that.
So, there's three things you asked, I think. How's our cost?
You count, I'm not.
Well, yeah, I was just trying to make sure I remembered them all so that I could answer them. First is how's our cost changed since inception to now? It's gone up close to 30%.
Okay.
From the original assumption. That said, we've been working with 3 general contractors now to get bids. And the general contractor that we have done a lot of work in this area that we are preferring at this point has gone up kind of 20%. That meaning the
10% less.
correct,
Okay.
other than the average. Second, and that's factored in, that cost increase is factored into the rents that Rob just mentioned.
Currently.
Correct.
Right.
And so we will go to something called the gross maximum price on our contract. When and if we receive approval, we then negotiate with our general contractor to guarantee the maximum price. And we lock that in before we start construction. Construction will be easily 15 to 18 months. So that price is locked in absent any change orders. So it's important that we get our construction drawings correct so that there's nothing missing in the pricing that could create a change order. So one of the other reasons we don't expect to actually start vertical real construction until the early part of next year is for the facts that you mentioned. One, the supply chain is incredibly entangled today. We are building close to 1 million square feet right now. So we're delivering product as we go, but it's not easy. Doesn't mean it can't be done, but it's not easy. And given the fact that this is going to take a tremendous amount of site work, just preparing the site, we thought that there's no real harm in starting in April and May of next year for the real construction of the site. Because we'll have a lot of preparation to go on prior to that. It also gives us then ample time for lead time for those hard to procure PVC pipes, some electronics, kitchen, stuff like that is easier than you think. We have a site in Grand Junction going on right now that the electrical switching equipment for one of the buildings is it was like a 12-week time frame, and we actually got it in 8 weeks. So, things are not, rumors of death are more than the death, actually. The rumors are higher than I think I got that wrong, but you know what I mean. And we do see some things actually, like lumber pricing is starting to come back in line, starting to come back into a reasonable line. I don't ever think it's going to be where it was prior to the pandemic. I just think there's too much supply chain disruption.
Right.
The good news, so that's all good. Those are things that we factored in. And our creditor, our bank, will be managing all the construction draw process. So it'll be really important to them that they also know exactly how the cost and rents relate. So it's not just a responsibility that we have to the community, but to our as a fiduciary of ourselves, and also any bank that gives us a loan. And then the third, I don't remember what your third question was now. I'm sorry.
Will rents go up?
So again, the cost that we have right now, that we will move to a gross maximum price on, a condition on, the rents that he talked about will be within that contract. And we built, at this point of the contract, we built a large contingency so that if the actual costs go up, we can absorb some of that in contingency prior to the construction getting started.
So in other words, that'll affect your profit?
It will affect our profit would be affected positively if we don't have to spend the contingency, but we're not planning on that profit. We're planning on spending the contingency. So, for example, we have a contractor, our preferred general contractor giving us a price. We think that they have underpriced what it's actually going to cost. So we've built in a large contingency on top of that because we think they're missing some things in their pricing based upon where we are in our drawing set. So if we're wrong, which would be a good thing, they've priced everything in, then that contingency can come down and we can lock in the contract. So it's actually the reverse.
So you think this gentleman that only's gone up 20% when you start to try to lock him in, he's not going to anticipate his cost as far as labor?
When he locks in for a GMP, he will go out and get contracts from his subcontractors and lock them in. So he's going to move the risk immediately off and ensure that he's got his pricing locked in to deliver to us.
And have you put into your building contingency the lack of labor?
Yes.
So when you say you might start in April, you might not start until September.
No.
So you're going to have all that labor to start.
Yeah.
The other builders don't, but you will.
We are building now everywhere around the state,
Okay.
1 million square feet. Do we have days where an electrician doesn't show up? Absolutely. Does it take us back 6
Well,
months?
Scott
No.
didn't show up tonight. He's on there and he's an electrician. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Just-
no, I know you
Free
are,
word.
but we are, but by the way, again, this kind of floor planning allows us to lock in some of the best contractors that are the most reliable and have the most robustness in staff and allow us to do
Okay,
that.
with interest rates going up, every, I don't know, depends what you listen to, but every 30 days for the next 6 months, supposedly, whatever.
Every quarter, I think, for the next 6
Well,
quarters.
it's gonna go- well,
That's the,
you might-
at least
you
the
might be
Fed,
right.
yeah.
But they're looking to at least 4 raises and maybe more.
Yeah, to get us to about 2%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so
That's
that's
the
what-
Fed level,
That's
yeah.
what you're estimating that,
No, that's what the Fed has said.
well, that's a lot of things.
No, I'm saying that that's what they're
You're not talking
anticipating, and
about
that's
what
what,
they say.
that's what's built
what
into the,
conversation.
no, the Fed has said we would anticipate 6 rate hikes getting us back to the 2% range from 0. And that then has, not a direct, but an impact on rates that come to me, commercial rates that come to me.
But and I don't mean to go there, but if you listen to some of the interviews that were done by the actual Fed people off.
Yeah.
They have different things. that they're saying.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's neither here nor
Yeah.
there. So you got that built in.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
factoring in.
We're factoring in all the interest rate increases.
So there is a possibility, very much so, that when you say maximum rental, what is the max that you use the term about the max rental, some kind of formula that you use? I mean, in honesty, do you really believe these are gonna be rentals?
We think those will be the rentals that we go to market with when we take the buildings out to market.
Okay.
And they could be, I'll speak for a sec. The one great thing about us as a company is most developers, probably 80%, they buy it, they lease it, they sell it.
Right.
So the rents that they're getting day one are critical because they're selling the property based on those rents. We're holding it 10 years and we have to hold it 10 years for the opportunity zone.
Right.
So if rents are down for a year, it's just not a big deal. It really matters is where rents 10 years, 15 years from now.
They go up 1 to
And
2%.
That's 80% of the economics of the deal is kind of where things are at that point. So we're not to say we're fixing it at these rents and won't touch them, but will they be more than $100 higher? I'd be pretty surprised.
Oh,
Very surprised. So.
Right, I'm a little confused because the way I read this, the presentation from the education department on that, you actually own the property now?
no,
So it's still, the school still owns it?
correct.
Why?
We're under contract and it's all subject to approval of town council. So once
Of
the
the
project's approved, then we go non-refundable and close in roughly what?
Yeah, and we close after that.
The contract is written so that it closes, I think it's 15 days after approval. of
Final
the
plan development
FDP.
approval.
We have to have approval.
But it was, it's to manage the risk on all parties.
And that's pretty common on most land development deals.
So if it doesn't go through, then the school keeps it and they have to find something else to do with it.
Right.
And you had promised a donation of $25,000 to the school district, because they go away as well.
No, that was just,
So I want to address
it's
this,
in the
Mr.
contract.
Pacaville, because there was some sort of weird rumors that there was a donation made by us. So,
Oh, yeah, that's what was printed.
right, but I think that we've actually replied several times to your request around this, that in the purchase price that we negotiated, the school district negotiated $25,000 additional purchase price for the land that was for the purchase of the property. We had no right to designate that for anything, no right to, it was just a part of the price that the school district came back to us and said, they countered our offer and said, we would like your offer to be $25,000 higher than it was. So we agreed to that price. And we contracted at that price.
Well, that wasn't the way it was explained.
Okay.
At all.
but if we don't close, that money doesn't go to the school district.
Because it's part of the price of the land.
Okay, well, that's, okay, I'm glad that was not the way it was presented.
Right, we're
by an individual that represents the school. somehow. I don't know what the position is. But that's fine, I'm just curious. As far as the traffic study, is anyone here from the?
Yeah, Craig is online. Craig McPhee is online there. He's our traffic study.
Is he from
Engineer.
out of town? Why aren't these folks here?
This was a hybrid meeting, so we were told that if you were comfortable coming, then you could come, and if you were not comfortable coming, then it was not required.
I wish they would come. I think it's much more impact if it's face to face. I noticed that the traffic studies were taken August 18th of 21 and I believe July 21st of 21. There might have been one that was in there for 4 hours on a given Saturday, I'm not sure. But both those dates are Wednesdays. The least traveled traffic in this town is Wednesday. The least traffic on CDOT is Wednesdays. So I'm curious why they're not taken on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and why they're only taken for one day, why are they not taken for a period of time to give you a cross section, rather than take those few statistics and then lay them out that that's what that's what the results come from. Just curious.
Craig, could you hear that?
Yes, would you like me to swear in?
Oh,
You guys, I'm gonna run the audio on my laptop just so we can hear it.
Okay. My name is Craig McPhee.
Can't hear you.
It loses a lot. I don't think we really get to the nitty gritty like we should, and we don't have the impact that we should with it. Everybody was here. So I'm really.
Really well.
Craig, could you try to speak really quickly?
Yes. My name is Craig McPhee. Last name is MacPhee. I am at 7951 Fenton Street in Arvada, Colorado.
Fenton with an F.
F as in Foxtrot, correct.
Okay, Craig, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, to answer your question, sir, the traffic counts, which I think is what you're referring to, within the study, those were collected on Saturday, July 17th, in 2021 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And on a Wednesday, July 21st, also in the year 2021, from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., which typically represents the AM peak hour morning rush, and from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., which is the PM peak hour rush. The reason that we collected the counts during those dates, or those days of the week, is because when we scoped the study with the city engineering staff, we identified the weekday peak hours as peak periods of interest, and then the Saturday also as the probable peak of the week, where most of the traffic would occur on a Saturday. Typical traffic impact studies, when you go out and do traffic studies, you count on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, because those are most representative of the weekday rush hour traffic. So that's why a Wednesday was selected, and then the Saturday is not common for traffic studies, but because the city of Idaho Springs experiences such high traffic volumes on weekends, we selected a Saturday to perform the traffic count.
Well, you actually did on, we are a tourist town. We're not a typical town. So when you tell me typical on a Wednesday is what you do, you're probably doing cities where there's more people using the cars to go to work, back and forth, which we have, which is minimum here compared to to the rush hour we get from the tourists. You cannot get in and out of this town a lot of times. And taking it for 3 hours, to me is it's a poor study in my opinion, because it does not really reflect what goes on in this town. And one Saturday could be very minor, and the next 3 Saturdays, the next 3 Fridays, the next 3 Thursdays, depending on the ski season, or if they're you know, in the summertime, river rafting, or if they're going up to the mountains, can fluctuate so much that I believe that your study is flawed because of the minimum time that you spend trying to get the correct traffic study for us. In addition, I don't believe your traffic study has encompassed the parking garage that we're going to be putting in a couple years down the line, hopefully. And most of the traffic will be coming off at that particular exit to get onto the parking garage. So I would like to see that redone in a proper manner. And that's one of the things that I would like to had the time to go to someone else to see how wrong or right I am as far as the timing of this type of study. Not given the time, I feel kind of shorted on that, but that's my opinion on it. Back to the rentals for a minute, if I may.
Art, may I address that just for a second? So, and Craig mentioned it, that those times, that criteria was given to us by the city and the city engineer. Those were questions that we asked early on as to what would be required. And we actually wanted to see a study that may encompass the parking garage and the new traffic mobility station, but it was decided that those were not accurate reflections of what would be built when we came in and put the project in place. Because if that parking garage happens, if it doesn't happen, those criteria, those requirements are placed on the development that's happening at that time. So from the what it would look like.
Audio's down, guys.
So what I'm talking about,
That's my exit.
yeah. Most people that live here don't even want to come downtown. Many people who do come here do complain that they can't even find parking. There's so many cars come in and go out. So I just think it's a flawed, my opinion. I think it's a flawed test. To be honest with you.
Yeah, and what I can say to that is that the city engineer gave us those criteria, and
I really don't care. I mean,
Hey, can I say something?
Yeah,
Guys,
sure.
this is,
and there was a second.
oh,
Sorry.
I've had my hand up for a long time. Guys, this is going completely off path. I mean, seriously, any questions about their business plan? I personally do not think it's in the city's purview. So I apologize for not getting in on that earlier. But I feel like some of these questions could have been addressed before the council meeting. Honestly, these are very, very detailed questions that you needed the answers for, but it seems like we're beleaguering the meeting at this point in time and not getting anything done.
They put the parking study on the table. It's open for discussion, whether you like it or not. That's simple.
Yes, I do realize that.
I want to get to
beforehand.
because it all reflects on, there's a lot in here about a lot of the people, not a lot of people, a good number of the people that you're gonna rent to are gonna work here. And where you got that from, I don't know, but let's assume you're right. When someone comes to rent, you have to fill out a report, do you not?
Yes.
You have to demonstrate that you can pay the rent, do you not? Okay, therefore they already have jobs, do they not? And most likely those jobs are down the hill.
Commissioner Campbell, you asked the same question when we went through the plan development, and I answered it twice for you. Yes, I did, sir. No, I didn't. I answered it twice, and I don't think you like the answer. The answer is you have 0% vacancy in your town right now. So therefore, anybody, majority of your workforce that works in this town does not live here. So anyone that already has jobs in your town that moves into our building will be a new resident. That's what I said, and that's the second time we'll tell you. And I respectfully am asking you to understand that this is to bring more supply to a very constrained area.
Okay, but most of those people that work here are in the service industry. And my concern is, even though those are better rents than they're probably paying down in Lakewood, I don't know.
But
I apologize for the interruption. We have a technology item that.
If we could take a 2-minute break, just so I could reset there was a spike and I just need to reset this so that everybody can hear properly.
Oh, you bet.
Okay, if we could just take 2 minutes, I can get it done.
We'll take a recess for a short period of time for technology here.
Appreciate it. Sorry to stop.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I noticed they saw the list and I was glad. Some redundancy. I was also glad. Yeah. You're right about that.
Well, particularly with the lift station where they have to move the water up, like they're not, they're working like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, it makes perfect sense.
I'm glad you asked that, you know, most of us are very, well, I think it's better. I don't know what your power lines are. Yeah. Mine do.
I have one. I don't know if it's better or bad.
Wi-Fi crashed on us. Something happened that was crazy. That's never happened before. It like all of a sudden it was working and then it just like kicked out. 5, 7. I'm sorry, I apologize. Now we're working.
Councilwoman Collier, could you, sorry. Councilwoman Carly, could you test us?
Can you hear me?
Yay, we got you. Can everyone hear okay? You can hear fine, everyone virtual? Okay, can one more of you try to just talk really quickly, just to make sure it's going? Greg, maybe?
Yeah, I'm good. I can hear.
Awesome, thank you. I apologize for that, everyone.
Great. Thank you, John.
A little bit.
Jonathan, you ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, Lisa, would you just let everybody know if they can come back in?
Okay.
Thank you. All right, thank you. We had a short break. Just a reminder, everyone's still sworn in, and we were in the midst of asking questions. Art, did you have any more?
Well, yeah, I got a few more, but I'm gonna let go because there's people who are gonna speak pro or con. I'm not sure. I think I owe it to them to let them have the floor. The questions I asked basically kind of answer my questions about the project. So I mean, I see where it's going.
All right, Kate, I see you still have your hand up, and I want to give you a chance. All right.
Thanks. I just wanted to make that statement. I'm fine.
Okay, any more questions of, Lisa?
I have just a couple and they'll be quick.
Sure.
Just as, somebody who has lived next to larger developments like this, on that western edge, I would really like to see fence and trees. I know you said it'd be either or, but I'm just throwing that out there because I think that's, better for the folks that live on the side of that. With the mobility hub and like the sound walls, I was reading the recommendations from the engineer. What are your plans for working with the city if those become recommended? Because when you live by the highway, the highway's noisy. I live far back and I can hear it. So do you have plans for that? Do you have ideas for that?
For the mobility hub?
Well, not so much, let's set the mobility hub aside for the sound walls, because building 3 is right next to 70.
Yeah, so we talked, in fact, I met with head of CDOT 2 weeks ago to try to convince her we needed sound walls against this, and CDOT won't put them in unless they are doing they're doing something to the road that impacts the noise dramatically. So we've asked them for cost for sound walls, and they're close to $3 million for that side. So it's not feasible for us to put those in. And we are doing everything that we can to try to shield the site, and that's why we push the buildings back off that way, just to give a little bit more shielding from that.
Because the bigger side of the building is exposed to, all the buildings actually, and we're exposed to 70.
That's right.
We're gonna do
The whole town, yeah.
more expensive soundproof windows and extra insulation on the southern side.
Highway side.
To really, and we have a sound engineer consultant that is gonna do all the testing. So we'll do as much as we can, but it's never gonna be perfect, but it'll be certainly livable.
Okay, and then my next question is, what do you have plans, and this may be getting too much into your business, but do you have a contingency plan for if a roundabout is needed for that 240? Because that's really going to, with the mobility hub, which may or may not be starting construction around the same time you're working, that's really going to impact the amount of traffic on that exit. Go ahead, Jared.
If I may, in that regard, so at the time of PD, there was discussion, and it has been placed in the plans where if 4 Points goes in prior to any type of roundabout, et cetera, then there would be just if you're coming from their site to 13, you would only be able to turn right and head to the interchange. And then on the other side, it would be just a one-way, so you wouldn't have the traffic conflicts. So that is built into this. Now, of course, all that goes away or changes if indeed a traffic circle is installed. At this point, it's that traffic circle is something that is maybe kind of
Up there somewhere?
very high aspirational.
Okay.
That's not to say that we are not, we are still applying for grants that would take that into consideration. No guarantee, of course, if we get them, it's still something that we're looking into, but it is pretty aspirational at this point.
Okay, thank you. That's all for me.
All right, any further questions from council? All right, hearing none, I'd like to start our public comment. Thanks. Oh, I apologize. I told you I would work on it. John, would you hand that down, please? Thank you. What? Thank you. Well done.
The first person signed up for public comments. We have here's some people who signed up in advance, and some people were signed up on the list. First would be Sadie Schultz.
Hi, Sadie Schultz at 1634. Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Okay, thank you. Hi, Mayor and Council. Thank you guys so much for receiving public comment on this matter. I want to say how extraordinarily important it's been to work with 4 Points. They have really made investment in working with the business community as well as the residents of this community, hearing feedback, going back to the drawing board, taking into consideration everything we have said, actually to address a specific comment brought up by council. When it comes to workforce housing here in Idaho Springs, as a business owner, I own the Spice and Tea Exchange here on Minor. We are tapped at the workforce that lives here. Yes, bringing new residents to this community is important. Also, some of my particular workforce could afford to move into these apartments, opening up lower end income housing in this unit that in our community that they could then have, say, a lower income worker could move into that unit. I have staff that are in lower income units in the community right now. They could afford to move into the 4 Points unit and opening up a unit in our community for another lower income individual or family. I think this will diversify our workforce ability to have from low income to medium income housing for our workforce. I think it's extraordinarily important in our growing community to have diversity. We have high income and low income. We don't have medium income housing in this community, really. Not that's obtainable and accessible right now. So it's been really great to work with 4 Points. They have worked with the business community. I also represent some of the business organizations in this community. They have come to us multiple times asking for our feedback and have really been an excellent partner working with us. So thank you very much.
Second person who signed up for public comment, Lindsay Valdez.
Lindsay Valdez, I'm here representing Quickly Economic Development Corporation. So our office address is 1443 Colorado Boulevard, Suite B.
Carmen, is that okay for address, the office address?
I'm happy to give you my personal residence as well.
That's okay, Wonder.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, thank you. All right, good evening. Thank you so much for being here tonight and addressing this really exciting proposal. I have been working with 4 Points since they come into our community and brought these great ideas before us. And so again, I'm going to reiterate what's been said. Really impressed with the public input process that has happened. I attended several of the public input meetings that were at Carlson Elementary and around the community. And again, just they have addressed so many of the challenges and issues that have come up by residents that had concerns. They've addressed those concerns. So really excited about this group, especially again, emphasizing the fact that they will own this property for 10 years. I can say in Georgetown, where I live, we have an apartment complex there that was built immediately filled to capacity and has already sold. And those rents have gone up. And so knowing that we will have this project here for 10 years guaranteed is really reassuring. I also want to speak as far as my role as the president and CEO of the Clear Creek Economic Development Corporation. I speak with business owners across the county every day, and I can tell you the #1 challenge right now is workforce. We need new residents. We need new people in our community. Every time I go to a restaurant, I ask where the person serving me, where they live. And a lot of them lived in the Bighorn apartments up in Georgetown. They were filled by new residents that were filling jobs in our community. This is essential. Taking that hat off, I'm also a business owner in Idaho Springs. And I can tell you I had to close 3 days a week at one point because I had no workforce. There is a huge gap in this community. We have to create more housing. We have to bring in new residents to be able to provide for our service industry and other primary jobs that we have in our community. But again, those service industry jobs, I can tell you, the business that I own, my employees would be able to afford living in these apartments. The other nice thing is because they are market rate, anybody will qualify for them. I could go apply for one of these apartments as well. So I know I'm getting on my time, I'm sorry, but thank you again. I urge you to approve this application. We're really excited about this group.
About Lolita.
Lolita, are you there?
Just talking.
She's joining. There she is.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Lolita Christian. I'm the Community Development Manager for the Henderson operations. So we are with Climax Molybdenum Company, which is a subsidiary of Freeport-McMoRan.
Hold on one second. Can you hold on one
I'm so sorry. You're right. I need to swear in. I apologize. Do you want my business address or my personal address? Do you want the Henderson Mine?
Whichever you prefer.
The Henderson Mine physical address is 1746 County Road 202, Empire, Colorado 80438.
All right. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Wonderful. So I just have a couple, just re-emphasizing everything that has already been said. Henderson has always worked with our community partners in Clear Creek County to help support some long-term resiliency efforts that will drive economic progress and create opportunities for our citizens, which can be sustained or transferred post-mining. And this does include our partnership with 4 Points Funding in our conversations. One of the many challenges that we have been tackling and trying to solve is lack of housing, affordable and attainable. And as one of the largest employers in the county and one of many businesses that has struggled to recruit and retain pre and post-pandemic, we do realize there is a need to diversify the housing inventory in Clear Creek County to better support the evolving workforce demographic. And this includes the mine and the mill. So we just want to express our support for this project in hopes that it will continue to drive long-term sustainability within the Clear Creek community. Thank you.
Mitch Houston. We'll get him up here in just a second.
Mitch, you're allowed to talk.
Well, I appreciate that, but I hadn't planned for any public comment. However, I will urge the council to keep.
Mitch, will you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Of course, Mitch Houston, 361 Red Tail Trail, Evergreen, Colorado, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Clear Creek Schools Foundation.
All right. I can't see you, but will you raise your right hand, please?
You got it.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. I would just like to urge council tonight as they consider approving the development plan for Block 57, that it'll give an opportunity for public service employees to have a very affordable place to live within their up to 16 units. And also, it's really important that we have a safe and effective bus or vehicle maintenance facility. And both of these are located in Idaho Springs, and I think they're going to bring value to your community. Thank you.
Cameron Marlin.
Will you state your name and address for the record?
I will. Cameron Marlin, 269 Zip Trail, Idaho Springs.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I
Thank
do.
you.
Good evening, council. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Cameron Marlin. I'm the general manager of CCMRD, and I'm here to voice my support for the Block 57 project that's before you tonight. Stephanie Copeland and I of 4 Points Funding and I have been in communication since November 2020. And a genuine sense of partnership has emerged early in the communications and has continued throughout. A common thread in every discussion, email, and meeting that I've had with 4 Points regards the multifaceted benefit to CCMRD that could arise from this project. Our child care department will benefit from the availability of green space that's in close proximity to our facility, as well as our group wellness classes that we can host in the sunshine and the open air. We host a significant number of birthday parties and summer camp groups from the Denver area, and we're sure that the outdoor space will be well loved by them as well. And lastly, to just reiterate the topic of workforce housing, the lack thereof is crippling to our community. And like many employers in Clear Creek County, we struggle to retain our top employers because of a lack of, or top performers because of a lack of housing options. This proposal includes measures to ensure that a certain portion of units be occupied by Clear Creek County workforce members. I'm impressed by Stephanie and 4 Points, and I believe that this is a project is a win for our community.
George Marlin.
Mr. Marlin, you're able to talk if you'd like to. You want to move on? Good. George, are you there? Oh, he's coming. Okay.
Oh, just your listening, so.
Okay.
Okay. We have just 2 left, so.
Sally's the last
one. Okay, and then I have one more in the audience, so.
Sally, I've given you ability to talk if you'd like to provide public comment.
Hi, Sally. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Okay, she should be here. Sally, are you there? Can't hear her.
Okay, hi, this is Sally Rush. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Sally. Can you state your address for the record, please?
Sally Rush, Clear Creek County government. I don't even know what the address is. I'll give my personal address. 240 West Park Avenue, Empire.
Okay, I can't see you, but can you raise your right hand for me?
Okay.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to receive or the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Okay, well, thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight, and I've been listening to the whole proceedings. It's very exciting. I did have a chance to talk to the school district this week, and I looked through the plans and everything. It meets so many of the things that we've had on our wish list for Clear Creek County, because we have talked about this workforce, this middle income, the professionals not having a place to go. So I like a lot of the comments that everyone's made, that this is another place that we're meeting our need. And I just want to congratulate the school board and 4 Points for the work they have done to make this a viable project. So I strongly support it personally, and the county, I'm sure, says, you know, it meets with our plans. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, then Keith.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Keith Gibson.
Sorry, your address for the record.
115 13th Avenue. I own the Shell station on the corner of 13th and Minor.
Can you raise your right
Oh,
hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess my question, it kind of arose with council members' concern about traffic studies on Minor Street and 13th and Idaho. So maybe to Jared or to 4 Points, the proposed pork chop on 13th and Idaho, right turn only, is that paid for by 4 Points or, okay. And is that part of, Jared, is that part of that submission, if it was approved this evening? Does that happen no matter what? Or is there further discussion on that traffic study that would happen?
If it is approved tonight, it would be the intent to have it installed by 4 points. If there was a compelling reason to, reanalyze that, then we could potentially do so. But at this point, the plans indicate that
my concern obviously is access to my business all the time. And we've been here since 1987. I've aired this out with a lot of council members, mayors, former mayors, and so I'm always there. I'm always looking. I don't see a problem with this development at all. I think everyone here spoke for a reason, and we do need workforce housing. I would like to work with you guys. At the PD, I saw it online. No, I didn't really have a voice in it. So anything we could do to look at minimizing the disruption of my access would be great.
Could you expand and make a grocery store?
I would love to. I would love to. That would be
Love
awesome.
that.
Breakfast burgers.
I didn't know if that concern was gonna come up tonight, the traffic study, and at one point I thought it was the city's responsibility to do that pork chop, so I didn't know where that was gonna go, so.
It's a negotiation with
Sure.
what the final piece was. but,
Okay.
there was a part of the PD, as you noted.
Yeah.
And so it's been carried forward into this.
I mean, we're not very truck friendly. We have a lot of concrete and sidewalks. We get a lot of trucks stuck in town now. So anything we could redo to reduce that and reduce the amount of, maybe the right turn only, but maybe not the pork chop, maybe painting it to see if that worked first of all. Something of that nature, something less obstructive, but I just want to ask, and put my concern out there when I heard everyone talking about traffic stuff of that nature. My access is important to me, and
I think the traffic study would indicate that it was needed. Now, what form it actually took, we might be able to look at that part of it.
Okay.
So yeah, we can discuss that in the future, but
I'd love to be involved in any discussion you have on it too.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Kate, I see you had your hand up.
Well, I was just curious if we could move the right turn only back a block. Would that solve the gentleman's problem without having a map up? I can't really be sure that I'm saying anything that makes any sense, but I'm just curious, is it because he's coming over or off I-70 that they can't turn right into his business because that's a one way?
The way it's proposed is right turn only comes from east off of Idaho and right turn onto 13th. So there would be no access from Idaho into the shell or into downtown. And I think the idea behind that was to limit cross traffic at that intersection because it is so busy.
Right.
And I was just asking that maybe we don't concrete it in so that cars could, because we do get a lot of truck traffic with large trailers, pickup trucks and occasional semis, but mostly pickup trucks and stuff of that nature that access our pumps there. So if they weren't running over concrete, that would be great. I don't know if a painted pork chop would fix the problem. I think it would help.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Might be able to do some delineators or something.
Yeah.
We can look into it.
Okay. All right.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Yes, that concludes the signed up people for public comment.
All right, well, thank you. Anything else before I close the hearing?
Well,
Just that I do hope that we do look into that for that gentleman that owns the Shell station.
All right.
I just want to say, I've never questioned 4 Points as far as their professionalism and the way they communicated, so don't misunderstand my questions. They weren't in reference to insult you in any way. I thought you did a great job, but sometimes you just have to ask questions to get out the underneath stuff rather than just this beautiful little presentation. So that was my purpose.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your comments.
All right.
Partners, not as comments.
Andy?
Mayor, you might want to just call if there are any other comments unscheduled, either online or in the audience.
You bet. Any other comments online or here City Hall?
If you were online, could you press the raise hand button?
We have no other comments.
Okay. All right, we'll call the hearing closed at 8:56. I'd like to move to resolutions. Like to make a resolution or that we approve resolution number 6, a resolution conditionally approving a final development plan and final plat for block 57 and parts of blocks 45, 55, 56, 66, and S or south of the city of Idaho Springs plat, a portion of Mancaro Placer MS Mill Site number 1345, and portions of vacated city rights of way, former Gold Digger Field property west of Field and Bus Barn property for mixed use project. Do I have a
The
second?
motion.
And second. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Oh,
Oh, that's right. Lisa Manifold.
yes.
Jim Clark. Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. And moving down to, I should say, congratulations, 4 points. Moving on to city attorney. Do you have anything additional for us tonight?
No, thank you, Mayor, Council.
All righty, city administrator.
Sending a text to council
Oh,
member Scott.
thank you
Pennell.
very much.
I'm back.
Okay,
You
good.
beat me. All righty, very good. Mayor and council, you have my staff report with one request for action.
All right, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve letter agreement with, AVA engineers in the amount of $24,800 for preliminary design, permitting assistance for Matty Dam rehabilitation project at the water treatment plant.
And
I do not have a line item.
That would be out of the water improvements line item in the capital budget for the, I don't have that number right off the top of my head, but.
All right, and do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Jim Clark. Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
All right, moving on to assistant city administrator.
Mayor and council, you have my staff report with no request for action.
Okay, and deputy city clerk.
Mayor and council, you have my staff report with no request for action.
All right, chief.
Mayor and council, you have the staff report with one request for action.
All right, may I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the E-Force contract for Windows Mobile Package in the amount of $19,945 from line item 10-30-7012.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Scott, second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Jim Clark. Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
All right, thank you. We don't have anybody from Public Works tonight. I don't have anything. I want to thank everybody for their patience. We did deviate a little bit from just maybe a pure comment that I thought it was important to air all of this out and give everybody a fair shake. So I want to thank everyone for their attendance, and everybody have a really good night. I'm going to call it adjourned